Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Well, on to India for an update on the COVID-19 situation in the country and so many aspects of the story to get into. But let's start with the raw numbers here. Saturday, deaths rose by 4,194 and infections were spreading in India's rural areas where public health services are reportedly scarce and already overstretched. India reported more than 400,000 infections a day in early May, but the numbers have been gradually easing. And looking at Saturday, the government data for that day revealed 257,299 new cases. Active cases in the richest state of Maharashtra and Karnataka, home to the tech hub of Bengaluru, and the coastal state of Kerala had fallen in the last 2 weeks, according to health ministry officials. So they're saying that COVID-19 outbreak in India is stabilizing in several parts of the country, but there is a large concern about what is happening in the rural areas, in the villages. And analysts say that officials across the country have been caught off guard by several things, including the speed at which vaccines were approved for use around the world. India, like many other countries, had been working under the assumption that vaccines wouldn't be ready for use until mid-2021. So instead, they started being greenlit in some countries in December, which upped the pressure to not only produce, but deliver promised shots as soon as possible. So India was manufacturing vaccines for other countries. The problem is they didn't expect that the vaccine would rage within their own soil. And that is the current situation we are in as well. And very unfortunate because prior to the latest spike in infections in the country, there had been little urgency within because the infections were declining consistently for months. And Prime Minister Modi said, hey, we're doing so good right now. But this whole thing pretty much caught them off guard.
It really did. The government's plan had been to vaccinate about 300 million of the India's nearly 1.4 billion people population by the month of August. But it hadn't actually reserved even close to enough shots to do so. It had just assumed that, partly based on projections from the country's vaccine makers, that there would be enough doses to both vaccinate people at home and also fulfill promised orders abroad. There also was little domestic urgency because India's infections, it had been declining consistently for months. In fact, in January, just days after India kicked off its domestic vaccination campaign and also started exporting shots, Modi declared, just like you touched on this, Ahmed, he declared victory over the pandemic at a virtual gathering of the World Economic Forum. And we discussed that here on the Morning Majlis as well. And his government seemed to bask in the early success of its so-called vaccine diplomacy. And the foreign ministry reiterated time and again that exports were calibrated according to the needs of the domestic immunization program. Now, experts are saying that turned out to be a dangerous miscalculation as an explosion of domestic cases was just around the corner. Now, there has been a lot of problems. Now, this kind of prompted now, as of late, that they're extending the statewide lockdown until May 30th. Now, according to Kerala Chief Minister, he said on Friday that as daily COVID cases are coming down, it has been decided to lift the triple lockdown imposed in only 4 districts, but not the statewide lockdown. It has been extended, so the situation is not really getting any better. To be honest, not that better. But they've also been having a lot of, when it comes to vaccinations, they have been having a lot of production problems. India has 2 main COVID-19 vaccine producers. The first one being the Serum Institute of India, which is making the AstraZeneca vaccine, and also the Bharat Biotech, which is making its own local vaccine as well. So India allowed the companies to start producing their shots last year as they waited for formal approval from regulators. Both the government and the companies thought that by the time the shots were approved, they would have larger stockpiles of the vaccines than they did. But scaling up manufacturing had turned out to be a problem for both companies, sadly.
Yeah, definitely, Rania. And more on that, I mean, look, India's population is approaching 1.4 billion, and so far they've received just 196 million shots, including 10 million as part of COVAX, a worldwide initiative aiming to provide equitable access to vaccines in low-income countries. Just 41 million people in India have been fully vaccinated, while 104 million more have received the first shot. So the overall number is pretty low, relatively speaking. And to help with the vaccine shortage, India has greenlit the Russian vaccine Sputnik 5, and 200,000 doses of it arrived last week as well. There are also plans for 5 Indian companies to make the Russian vaccine locally, and for the Serum Institute to make a version of the Novavax vaccine. And vaccines from 5 other Indian companies are also being tested as well. But so far, experts say the process is happening at a pretty slow rate. Many what-ifs and buts that need to be considered here. But we'll continue to keep you posted on the situation in India. We send our prayers and best wishes to the people there. Hang in there. And stay tuned to Pulse 95. We've got more discussions lined up. But up next, business headlines with Iman Al-Majali. Stay tuned.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Welcome back on to the Morning Majlis, and we're talking about the all-exciting event that's taking place right now in Sharjah. It actually started on Wednesday, May 19th at Expo Center. It's the 11-day annual Sharjah Children's Reading Festival. It's coming, or it is here in its 12th edition. It's themed for your imagination, and it's featuring 537 events and activities. And it really includes workshops, theatrical shows, other events also focused on literature, reading, and also allied arts as well. So this 12th edition, it will see, or it's been seeing also much diversity with the participation of 27 authors from 15 countries and 172 publishers showcasing their publications to the young audience. And of course, we have to also remember that the festival is held under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Dr. Sultan bin Muhammad Al Qasimi, member of the Supreme Council and the ruler of Sharjah, and also Her Highness Sheikha Jawahar bint Muhammad Al Qasimi, wife of His Highness the ruler of Sharjah and chairperson of the Supreme Council for Family Affairs. So lots has been going on so far. And us as Pulse 95 Radio, we also have been a part of this spectacular 11-day extravaganza. And our very own Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah from Afternoon Karak, they're there to cover the event. And they've been doing amazing, covering the event and speaking to a lot of children and families and attendees as well. And the latest development being on Friday, actually, Her Excellency Sheikha Bodour Qasimi, founder and CEO of Kalimat Group and also the president of the International Publishers Association, has launched her latest work in children's literature, World Book Capital, at the 12th edition of the festival.
Yeah, pretty beautiful book. I mean, I'm just looking at the cover right now, and it's artwork. It's drawn in and illustrated, and a children's book that is published in both Arabic and English by Kalimat Publishing, which is an imprint of the Kalimat Group that specializes in children and youth books as well. It was launched at an interactive session for the young visitors at the Sharjah Children's Reading Festival, which runs under the theme For Your Imagination. So what is this book all about? Well, it's a thrilling narrative. It's got an engaging literary style, beautiful illustrations by Denise DeMonte, and introduces young generations to the concept of the World Book Capital, a global initiative by UNESCO and a prestigious title bestowed upon the Emirate of Sharjah as well. It was named that, in fact, in 2019 for its continuous efforts in promoting books and literacy. And this book that Her Excellency Sheikha Bodour wrote aims to educate young readers on all the cities that have won the title since the inception of that initiative back in 2001. What's really cool is they had an interactive book launch event. Sheikha Bodour read the book herself, and it also offered the children at the event to interact with Sheikha Bodour, who took them on a journey to various cities with their own rich literary and cultural history as well. And the Sharjah Children's Reading Festival is the place to be. What I love about it is, as you see people filing in the halls, as you see the books being showcased, the workshops, the activities that are being held, you get a sense that this is the culmination of the UAE's relentless efforts to return to normalcy. We've got events back, and that's all due to just one major factor here is the fact that vaccination rates have been so high. The event itself, incredibly safe, stringent precautionary protocols being put in place to ensure everybody's safety as well, and the authorities are working their utmost. This is the place to be. It's at the Expo Center Sharjah. It's running until May 29th. Mikhail sent me some clips, in fact.
Yeah, we're going to play it later on the show.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny stuff, in fact, especially when he's talking to the little children as well. I can't wait to play those. So stay tuned to the Majlis. We'll be playing those for sure.
For sure. And definitely, it's an exciting event to be at. As a reading festival, it really aims to engage both children and adults, not just children, in the joys of literature. So when children really discover the possibilities of reading, surrounded by a playful and kind of like a exploratory kind of environment, and when that experience is shared by their adult caregivers as well, the book becomes an instrument of freedom and not just an obligation. So it's all fun. It's a fun place to be. A lot of activities are happening. Cultural exchange, lots of that, and exciting audiences, and the turnout is amazing so far, and it's definitely drawing children and adults as well. So gotta be there. It's starting every single day from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m. except for Saturday. It starts at 10. So be there.
Yeah, a remarkable place to be in. And if you'd like more information about the various activities, workshops, live shows, and cultural happenings, head over to scrf.ae. That is scrf.ae. And also stay tuned to the Morning Majlis, because we'll continue covering the event throughout the show and tell you how many things you could do there at the Expo Center as part of this event. Stay tuned to Pulse 95. We've got more discussions coming up on the second hour of the show. What's happening with the COVID situation here in the United Arab Emirates, and much more right here on the Morning Majlis.
If you liked this episode of the Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Pulse.